So hi everyone, my name is Mark Anderson. Hopefully you can see me and what have you, and my lovely collection behind me here and what have you. It's my pleasure to spend some time sharing with you today about how we can use Unio by Harness to engage with interactive learning in the classroom and some of the features of the software and the ways in which it can be used to enhance your teaching and your students' learning in the classroom. I've been really fortunate to work with Unio for some time now, and what I really like about the company is that they're really open to ideas about how they can develop and improve the product and what have you. So if you've got any feedback about how you think the product could be developed to make it work even better for you in the classroom, please let them know on Twitter or get in touch via the website. If you could see in the Webinar Ninja software that we're using, there's a chat window on the right-hand side and what have you, where you can say hello and put on comments and things and so forth and so on. I put a little poll down the bottom for us. There's a question section. So if you wanted to go into the question bit, you can ask some questions and what have you. I can see the Fazil's in the room, and Brian's just said hello. Hi, Brian. We've got a whole bunch of us joining us today, so I'll just do a quick hello to a few people. So hi to Mia, hi to Brian, hi to Natalie, Mike Hobbins, Chris Henney, Alan Foster, Justin Talbot, Stuart McCain, Kay and Jackson, Al Fuentes, Mr. Ansari, Jane Barnett, Miss El Monroe, Jane Kwan, Russell Albert, Adam Chase. Hi, Adam. Hope you're well, my friends. Nihal, Asaf, Mrs. M. Bray, AP Dalston, I believe, is a colleague of a friend of mine, Ollie, at the Oratory School. We've got Valerie, Paul, Fazil, Joe, and a whole bunch of people, and a few more joining us as I speak. So hi there, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. It would appear that we're all working fine and what have you. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump across in a moment, and you won't see me anymore, as it were. And I'm going to sort of share my screen so we can look at the software Unio that we're going to be looking at. Something you're going to have to do, we're going to try and run this so that you can engage in a class with me whilst I'm actually discussing how we can use this. So if you could, at some point in the next moment or two, could open up a new tab in your browser and go to uniobyharness.com. I'll just type that into the chat window just there. So that's the address that you'll need to do. And you'll see when I start sharing the screen, when you go to that address, I'm going to give you a room code, which you can then use to access Unio through your browser. And you'll still be able to hear me talking and what have you, but rather than looking at the screen here, you'll be able to use Unio and hear me guide you through and show you what the features are, so forth and so on. So with no further ado, I'm just going to turn myself off, so to speak. So I'm going to get on screen share, and that should now, if I go to my entire screen, there we go. So you should now be able to see me on one side and the screen share on the other side, and it should make it so that you can see all of the screen there, like so. So working on the bits as that's all fine and you can see me. Hi Fazil. I'm just going to go into Unio by Harness. So once you're logged into Unio, and I should mention from the offset, Unio is a free tool for you to use in the classroom with your students. Works in browser, works on any sort of keyboard-driven device. Works on tablets fine, although it's not recommended that students use it on their phones. You'll see probably why in just a few moments, but it tends to be a bit small on smaller screens. So it works better when you're looking at the software through a browser on a bigger screen. So when you're logged in and what have you, you can have different classes set up. So here I've got some samples for a geography class, a history class, Year 7 class for RE, and a professional learning class. Now, to set one of these up is real simple. We would just go to here and create a subject, and you just give it a name. So I'll call it Mark's class, for example. Hit create subject, and away you go. that's now made. And we can start making lessons really, really quickly inside Unio by just going to plus lesson here. But before I go through and show you how we actually make the lessons and what have you, I'd like to actually run a lesson with you. So to do that, if you go to a lesson you've already made, and here's in Blue Peter style one I made earlier, you simply go to Start Lesson. And when you do that, it gives you a class code, as it were, a join code. So if you're on the Unio by Webinar website, in the top right-hand corner, it'll say login. If you click on there, and you'll see two options. One on the left-hand side to log in as a teacher, so when running the class, which is what I've done. What you'll need to do on the right-hand side is go in as a student and use the join code, which for our session is 8930. So if you could do that, please, that'd be really helpful. And as we're sort of running this and what have you, I can see as a teacher the students that are entering the room. So I can see that 3 of you are in the room already, 4 of you, so forth and so on. That's nice and big for you here. I'll just do it very quickly, and just in case you're missing it, back into here and put the room code of 8930 here. So that's a reference for you. And I'm just going to close this bigger screen down. If you miss the room code, it's always there, persistent at the top, so you can see what the join code is here. As you can see straight away, Unio is a slide-driven piece of software that you can use in really, really good ways in your classroom to promote learning with your students. So I'll just wait a moment to see who else has come through. So in my dashboard here, I can see that there's the students bit here, 7 of you are there. If I click onto here, okay, I can see that a whole bunch of you are here already. So we've got Adrian and Asaf and Brian and Jane and so forth and so on. Now, on your screens, you will see that at the bottom of the screen, you've got a bunch of tools that you can use to annotate your screens. So what I'd like you to do very quickly, if you could, just as a quick starter, is could you just please underline the word welcome for me? Just so you can see what's going on there. So I can see Asaf has just done a little bit of a squiggle. And what's really nice about this, straight away, I can give some feedback. So I can see Mir's done a great little line underneath, so I can go onto here and I can just give him some feedback like so. Asaf's line isn't too good, so I can give him a, you've done the line, but it's not really what I wanted it to be. Brian's line is underlining is really good as well. So we've got a whole bunch of ways in which I can give some quick sort of reassurance to the students in my class about how they're doing. Nihal has done a circle around it. That's not too bad. Russell's all good there as well. So we can see without any real difficulty that I'm able to very quickly and easily sort of give some feedback to the students in my class. Just give some feedback to Natalie as well. Adrian's done a good job too. So there we go. So that's a really nice feature. I'll come more on to annotations a bit later. Before I do that, quickly, Asaf, if you can see my screen, has now fixed his and done a much better underlining. So I'm going to change his feedback so it's showing a much happier face there. Well done. And Brian, very helpfully, has just annotated his thumbs up in the corner as well there. So I'm going to go back to my teacher dashboard now. And what we can do with Unio, so I'm on my first slide here, but what can happen now is as I move through, I can now click onto slide 2. And then I click onto slide 2, so you'll then see us move through onto slide 2 on your screens as well. That's really nice, really powerful little feature that helps keep your students in your classroom all on task at the same time. So, as we're saying, this presentation is about examining the key features of good teaching and learning so that you're able to apply these in your classroom using Unio. So there are lots of different strategies and theories about what makes for good teaching and learning. But certainly, when it comes to what we're doing in the class, many lessons will start with an idea of sharing what the lesson is going to be with the students. It could be that at the beginning of the lesson, we actually do a bit of a review of the previous lesson. So I could actually have a blank slide here, and I could be asking you, so what do you remember from last lesson? And you could then on your screens sort of use the various annotation tools to respond and reply and let me know what they are. The topics we're going to cover during the course of the next 20 minutes or so, about how you can use this to increase student engagement, how it enables you to personalise teaching and learning, and we've seen a bit of that already, about how I'm able to give individualised immediate feedback. This idea of real-time interaction as well between student and teacher is really helpful. There's plenty of efficiency savings in the classroom, and we'll see those through the presentation as well. And we've got these interactive online whiteboards that we can use to help us collaborate and work together and support teaching and learning in the classroom. Something else we can do is think about how we can use Unio for helping us flip the classroom. And this is a feature whereby you're able to sort of share resource and what have you with students, so they can complete that work outside of the classroom. What's really nice as well is that you can use existing content to create new subjects and lessons really, really quickly. So I'm lucky I get to work with teachers all over the world, and one of the most popular bits of software that's used in the classroom is PowerPoint. And so what you can do is, rather than having to go into Unio and create a whole bunch of new resources and what have you here, if you have a PowerPoint file, and I'll demonstrate this in a little while, it's really simple to just upload your existing PowerPoint file straight into Unio, and it'll drop those slides in for you. It's really, really quite nifty. So, as well as doing things like annotating and doing underlining and stuff like that, you can use your annotation tools to get students to annotate certain content that you've put in as well. What's really nice as well, excuse me, is I can annotate things that are on the screen as well. So if I wanted to, for example, highlight a certain part of this slide to you, okay, so let's go for the keywords. And so I'm just going to get my pencil tool. And the keywords for this bit are annotation and annotate. So I'm just going to circle these bits. Now, what you should better see now is, whilst I'm doing this, those annotations should appear on your screens as well, which again is a really, really nice feature, so that you've got that for your students to refer to later on and what have you, whilst also in the class as well. Okay, so if I just go onto my student view here, now I can see all those annotations that I've made are on your screens as well. It's really, really nice. So jumping back into my teacher dashboard, I've got a little activity for you on the next slide. Okay, it's just for fun. Okay, there may be some scientists in the room who do know what the various parts of a flower are. But what I'd like you to do in this example, and this could be anything, you know, it could be labeling the parts of the inside of a computer. It could be drawing a representation of the features of sea defences in geography, the proper stance for sort of serving a tennis serve, all sorts of things. So if you could have a go at just please to trying to label the parts of the flower. And if I jump now onto my student screen, I can see straight away, and before I've even got there, people are annotating. You're drawing your lines, you're using the text tool to write things on. So I can see Brian's put petal. Well done, Brian. He's on the right track here. I can give him a bit of quick feedback and so forth and so on. And what I'm going to do now is, and you can only see this on your screen if I'm working with you on this, but I can actually take control of any of these screens as well. So there's somebody called Paul in the room here, and Paul has written on petal the word leaf. Well, I don't think that's quite right. So what I can do is I can jump onto his screen and view that. So that comes up nice and big for me around about now. There we go, it's come up, there we go. And what I can do, I can in the bottom right hand corner here, I can hit take control. And what I can do now is I can leave some feedback on here, and I can just click on the text tool, and I can say in here, hi Paul, almost correct. Could you please refer to your book and put in the correct label? So that's some feedback straight there on the document, straight away for Paul. I hit release control. Paul now has that back, and I can then go back to the view and sort of see how the rest of the students in the class are getting on, and so forth and so on. And we can again leave feedback just through doing little smileys, emojis, sort of things, and what have you. I'm just jumping through really quickly and giving that feedback now. So there's quite a few of us in the room, so I'll do that for a few of you, just so you can see that that's possible. So forth and so on. So it's really, really helpful. I don't know about you as well, when you're engaging in this sort of activity with students in the classroom, sometimes you might want to stop the children working on things. And so one little feature that I really do like about Unio is that I can blank all your screens at the sort of click of a button. So if I go down the bottom here and click on blank all, now your screen should go blank. Okay, that often when I've done this sort of thing in my classroom in the past, this is the point in the lesson where the students tend to go, "Aww," because they're so engrossed in what they're doing and what have you. But it is a really important thing to be able to get children's attention really, really quickly. And so that feature there is just really, really handy. I'll just unblank that so you've got back control. Whilst I'm looking at this bit down the bottom here as well, there is an opportunity for you to ask me questions within Unio, within the classroom. So if you go to the questions bit down the bottom here, you could then leave me some questions, which I can then sort of pick up from you in my lesson, and then have a conversation with you about how those, what your question is. So Brian's now asking me, is this correct? Unfortunately, Brian, I'm not a biology teacher, but I did do A-level biology, so I do believe that was a statement, so very good, thank you very much. And so what I can do now is I can clear that notification with the question on the side here. One thing you'll notice at the top here as well is that there's a little 1 sticker just next to the students bit. That's there to tell me that I've got a question from somebody in my class. So I can just click onto there. I can then see the notification. I can see the question. I can then speak to the students about what their question is and help them and so forth and so on. So I can, in one go, clear all notifications, or I can just close that one down because we've dealt with it. So back into my teacher dashboard. Something really nice as well is because I can go onto the screen, every child's screen. It's very easy for me to go into the student section, put that screen on, and then show it on the whiteboard. Now, for your projector, now that's really useful in a number of ways. It could be that I've asked a question and what have you, and Brian, for example, has done a really, really good answer, and I want to share that with the whole class so we can say, look, if you're looking for top marks, okay, this is what we're looking for. Can you please now in pairs, or can you please now check each other's, see how you got on, so forth and so on. Alternatively, though, another way that I really like to use it is to sort of put up the responses which aren't quite correct, because it's a really good way then of them working as a class to try and unpick where those areas of misconception are, or any problems or issues with what it is that they're studying. So you can really drill down into how you can actually solve the problems and make it so that students can have those conversations about what they need to do to improve their work so they can hit the right standard. So another nice feature of Unio is the fact it's got a quizzing tool built into it. You can also use the quiz as a polling tool if you want to. And in fact, if I go up to the top right-hand corner here, as well as the quiz, there's a whole bunch of activities that you can put in to Unio. Not all of these are available yet, but the team are developing these at the moment, so you can put in things for assignments, for group work, for discussions, so forth and so on. Really, really nice. I'm just going to go on to my quiz slide now, and this quiz is built straight in to the slide. So if I go on to Start Quiz now, okay, you should now get some quiz questions on your screen. So I just go to quiz results here, and straight away I can see you guys responding to the questions. I'll give you a moment just to complete those questions. So this is really helpful for me as a teacher to sort of see where the areas of misconception are. The biggest problem is clearly that we haven't learned from the beginning of our lesson what triskaidekaphobia is. In fact, I was running this session, sort of prepping it yesterday, and I was asked the question, is that even a word? It is a word, and it is a fear, and it's the fear of the number 13. Okay, just looking at the results here, though, we've got different ways in which we can view the results. We've got the quiz results for the whole class in one go. We can see that very, very quickly. I go to student results. I can see how each individual person's done in this way as well per question. So I can see who responded to which bits. And so it could be that everyone had put animal, or it was a sort of split between artist and animal. That can really help me and inform me as a teacher as to how I can and how detailed the error, sort of lack of knowledge is as well. I can also go to class results and what have you. And what I really like about quizzing in the classroom, okay, is it can really sort of be used to support sort of demonstration of progress and so forth and so on. So, you know, in my classroom, I would be using this in a way where I can actually do a quiz at the beginning of the lesson to sort of gauge where knowledge is and so forth and so on. I can also then run the same quiz at the end of the lesson and see how much, if at all, the students in my class have progressed. If we're thinking about things as well, such as the forgetting curve, we can sort of think about that whole idea about spaced learning and interleaving, so that we can use the same resources we've used previously, so that we can revisit this learning content and run the quizzes very simply with our classes again, which again is a really, really nice feature. A question I'm often asked about this when I'm sort of showing Unio is that you'd like to be able to have sort of reports that you can download and what have you, and have reference to and pull back from, what have you. That feature is being developed at the moment, and I believe that feature should be live within the next week or so. And I think that's a really good thing, because as teachers, we do need to be able to sort of refer back to things. We're often moving from one lesson to the next and what have you. If we close down this lesson, at the moment, say those quiz results aren't there for us to look at, so it's really helpful and what have you, it's better get access to those questions and more importantly the student responses again. So to finish the quiz, I simply go to end quiz in the bottom right hand corner and what have you. So I can move on to the next slide. So add some feedback on Unio in the classroom as well, particularly around those children who have sort of some additional needs, additional learning needs, and what have you. It's been found that the sort of student feedback is they really like being able to have the presentation right in front of them. And certainly for those students in the classroom who are visually impaired, I've had students in my class before, you know, who find it really difficult to see what's actually on the projector, but by having the information right in front of them, that helps them very, very easily to engage more with the content in the class. And you'll see the sentence at the end there where it says to better work at their own pace. There's a feature you might have seen on the bottom of my screen. If you haven't, there's a feature at the bottom of my screen which says unsync. Okay, now unsync means that rather than me working through this presentation and the content with you at my pace, students can then work through the content at their own pace. Okay, that's really great for differentiation. It might be that some children in your classroom might only get through half of the content. Some of the children might get through right to the end and be, you know, begging for more. And by using this feature, we're allowing the children to sort of work through at their own pace and in a way which is much more relevant for them with their learning needs. And I like that. You know, I'm a big fan of John Hattie and his work, and he talks about feedback, about it being just in time, just for me, just what I need to help me move me on with my learning journey, so forth and so on. But by unsyncing and what have you, that certainly allows the students to move through at their own pace in a way which is just for them and just for what they need as well. So I think that's really, really good. Another great way that I like we can use Unio is to enable us to sort of record individual feedback, and we can do that in lots of different ways. So on this next slide now, we can see an example that we might use in a science class where I've written the experiment instructions on the left-hand side, and there's a space there on the right-hand side for us to record our results. Okay, so I'm just going to jump onto the student screen. If we could just pop some Doesn't really matter what the results are, just put a few squiggles in there. And with that in place, that means that now I can, again, very easily share all the individual student results from the particular test and what have you that we're doing with all of the different children in the classroom at any given time. Some feedback you might give me at the moment as well regarding those annotation tools is that it could be seen to be a little bit clunky and what have you. So that's some feedback that Unio have taken on board, and I know that they're working on developing much more precise and refined annotation tools to be used at the bottom there. I think Asaf gets the most colourful award there. Well done. I can see. And Nihal is giving me lots of different results. And Natalie's drawn me a lovely flower. Well done, Natalie. Thank you very much. That gets a big thumbs up from me. Very good indeed. Okay, so I hope you're getting a feel for the sorts of things we can do with Unio. And like I say, given the fact that it's free, I really like the ability to, the fact that we can do this in our classroom. And whilst I do work with lots of schools that have one-to-ones, be that with a Surface or be it with something else or an iPad or what have you, actually more and more schools are looking at bring your own device. And certainly because this tool is really device agnostic, it means that you can still use something which is really powerful in the classroom without that concern or worry about it not really hitting the right sort of beat and what have you. I can see I've got a question on students. So I'm just going to pop over to here. Will there be mathematical notation tools, fractions, powers, and roots? I don't know that, Jane, but the team are involved, and so I'm sure they'll respond to you in the question section, the sort of chat bit on the Webinar Ninja page. Okay, so thank you for the question. I'm just going to clear that one away, and I'll move on. Certainly, I would agree that would be a fantastic feature. I see it as being something that's used in other tools and what have you as well. So I think that'd be really quite nifty. So I'm just going to close that one away, and I'm just going to jump back into the presentation here. Okay. Something else you can do as well is you can upload your own. Or students can upload their own content straight onto slides for themselves as well. So, for example, if we've been doing some research and what have you on, let's say, cricket, okay, and bowling and what have you, you could go on to Google now and do a search for an image and what have you that demonstrates the correct posture for a bowl or whatever it is, okay. And so on the next slide, it says, please put your images here. So if you want to have a go now at popping some images in, if you wanted to, it's very simple to do that. You just go to the plus button and then just go to media, and you can add images. If you've got an image already that you've drawn, you can add that directly from your device. I tried this on an iPad as well, and what was really nice was I could just upload a photo straight from my camera roll. If you've got a URL, you can also add a web image to an image, and it supports different types of image, such as your PNGs and JPEGs and so forth and so on. So if I jump across into the student screen now, I fully expect to see a whole bunch of pictures. Although Adrian, I'm not quite sure why you got that one there, but I'm sure you can explain that one away. As you can see on Asaf's screen, you can sort of resize that image and move it around and so forth and so on. I can see Mia's, there's got some petals on there. I'm just going to bring that one up a bit larger so I can see it. I could be sharing that with the whole class. So he's got some photos there, some flowers. And he's drawn the stem and the leaves underneath and so forth and so on. Yeah, I'm very pleased with that. Well done. Thank you very much, Mia. Very good. I'm not going to take control of you. I'll just come back away from there. So again, it's just an opportunity for you to have a bit of a play and to see the features and what have you. One thing that I really like as well, actually, collecting in what's going on with the Pokemon, Russell. I mean, I can see here Paul has got a bit of work from his book, and that's another great example of how you can use Unio to see things that are going on in the classroom. Because when it comes to technology, it's about having that as your part of your teaching and learning toolkit. And certainly the students in your classroom will still have pens, pencils, protractors, so forth and so on, and they'll be writing in their books for you as well. You know, you can think about just getting the students to take a picture of their work and submit it back that way, and then that can be easily shared to the whole class. It could be that Paul's response is not quite right. We could use that, like I said before. as a vehicle to make it so that we can unpick why that isn't quite correct. It could be model answer, so forth and so on. So hopefully you're getting a fix for this and liking what we're seeing. I know I am. Well done, thank you. Something else that we can do is add slides to your material after uploading and add an open-ended essay question that students can answer. So I could, following our discussion, add a new slide and just go to plus and pop it in, or have you, but so I've already got one made for us. So it could be that we've been studying, I'm a history teacher, we've been studying World War I, and so you can now answer my question. Given the free-form text tool, you can respond and type your short answer response or your short essay and what have you into the space. And again, as teacher, while you're working on that, without having to disturb the whole class, walking around, picking up books and what have you, students can focus on what it is that they're doing really, really simply. I just go onto the student's view and I can then see the responses that are going on underneath. I don't expect you to answer and what have you, unless of course you're a history teacher and you're very keen to share. As I've just said, World War I. Okay, very good, thank you. So yeah, another little way in which you can use Unio to help you with your teaching without disturbing the children in the classroom so much that they can focus on demonstrating their knowledge and what have you following the session. I mentioned before about having blank screens to draw your attention back to you. So I really, really love that feature. Additionally, as I mentioned before, that we can sync and unsync the screens so that that sort of supports differentiation in the class so that students can work at their own pace. Something else that you can pop in is a YouTube video directly. So you can see that there's one of my little videos from my YouTube channel there, what have you. We can use that to watch videos maybe from YouTube nice and safely within the classroom as well. I can see I've got a question from a student, so I'm just going to jump into students. And can you save student responses on essay slides like this? Again, that's one of those features which I'm working on at the moment, so you're able to save all these things, and that should be available in the next few weeks or so, Jane. Okay, thank you for the very good question. I really appreciate that. Thank you. So you've got the videos there that you could watch and what have you via YouTube. And I talked before about the ability to use a student dashboard to extend learning outside the classroom and what have you. So we can do that already. If I started a lesson, share the code with the students in my class, leave it open, unsync it, and the students can then work on that through Unio at their own pace and what have you. So I'm just going to, so I've got 2 more slides here to finish off, and I will run through this, but I do want to show you how we can, just very, very quickly, how we can upload content, how we make these different things, so forth and so on, but that shouldn't take very long at all. So we will have a Q&A, but what I'll do to make it easier, I'll jump back to the view where you can see me and I can see your questions more easily to facilitate that conversation. And if there's something I can't answer, perhaps I can sort of share screen with one of the team from Unio so they can answer those directly for you. If you want to use Unio, so it's completely free for you, and there is in-school training available if you want to get some support in how you get it set up. So somebody from the team can come and see you at your school and help you, and that could be just for you in your classroom or for the whole school and what have you. There's also telephone and online support available. There's Unio By Harness is their Twitter handle. And like I said, they're really keen to get ideas for how they can develop and improve this product so that it can enhance learning and teaching. So please do get in touch with them and let them know your thoughts. Everything happens at uniobyharness.com, and that's pretty much it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to hit end lesson so I can go back to my teacher dashboard. I'm just going to show you how we can set some of these things up. So if I go back to here and go end lesson now, that should close things down for you. Okay, so you saw me set up Mark's class before. What I wanted to do is just go to here now and go to add lesson. I go onto here and I come through to a blank area. So what I want to do is I want to upload a document, and this is where I'm going to go to upload. I'm going to go to my computer, go to my desktop. I've got an example one here. It's a very small file, so it wouldn't take long to work and get uploaded. Just uploading it now. There it is. It's converting the presentation. And so what we'll see once it's done, is the PowerPoint will drop straight in. Now, there are various ways in which you can do this. I tend to use Keynote as my tool for creating presentations rather than PowerPoint. And then there are two ways you can get a Keynote file up onto here. One thing is directly within PowerPoint, actually, within Keynote, is that you can export your Keynote file as a PowerPoint file anyway, which is actually what I've done with this one. Okay, the other thing that you can do is in Keynote is you can export your presentation as an image, and each of your slides would then be a separate JPEG or PNG file, and you can upload those individually if you want to as well. So it takes a few moments. They were worried it might take a few moments because of the bandwidth and me doing stuff, but it's coming through now. Okay, so you can see my slides and what have you have now appeared. And if you want to, like I said, there's a bunch of features here. So not only can you upload documents, you can add images, and you upload those in the same sort of way. If you've got an image from somewhere online you want to drop straight in, then you can pop that in just by going to add web image, and you can just paste the URL for the web image into here, hit add image, and it drops it in. Very, very simple. And it's the same thing with YouTube. So just go to add YouTube, and then you can just paste the YouTube URL in, add video, and it drops it in. So you get access to that video like we saw before. So I'm just going to cancel that. On the right-hand side here, we've got activity, and this is where you create the quiz. So creating a quiz is really simple. We just put a title for our quiz in, and ask the question, what is this, whatever it is. Okay, first answer is yes. Another answer is no. You choose which is the correct answer, and just go update, add the questions in, so forth and so on. And to put another, once you've done update, you can then just go add question, and you can just keep building your questions like that. When you're done, you just hit finish, and it then just drops the quiz in like so. Okay, and when you're running the lesson and what have you, and to start a session, by the way, we just go to launch live session. When we launch live session, it's so quick. You just get the code, give that to your students. They go in like you did at the beginning of the one that I did before, and that's it. Away you go. So that's it. I hope we've sort of covered those various learning outcomes and what have you. I'm going to jump back in now to Webinar Ninja, so that might give you a bit of a tunnel. So unfortunately, that's doing that. But I'm just going to minimize that bit, and I'm just going to turn that off, and I'm going to maximize myself, as it were. Okay, cool. So, excuse me. So we've got one question down here at the bottom, and someone's saying, join 15 minutes late, did I miss any fundamental stuff? Thanks. And that's been covered by Nihal already. And there we go. That seems to be all good. Were there any questions via the side over here? Nihal, if you could just let me know. Are there any questions we need to sort of clear at all? Thank you for the comment, Dr. Beeching. I believe you're at Sexies, I think, isn't it? Not too far from my sort of stomping ground down in Somerset. Okay, so things seem to be really, really good here. If I can just get the nod, and I think it's about time to wrap up now. What I'd say to you is please do have a go and what have you, and see how it works for you in your classroom. And you know, you can tweet me at ICT Evangelist. I'll be more than happy to put you in touch with the guys at Unio, particularly Nihal. If you're interested in some free training, then please do get in touch with them. So again, I said this at the beginning of the session, one of the things I absolutely love about the team here is how they are focused so much on linking everything to your teaching and students' learning. And they really, really are focused on wanting to make things better and to make a difference. And with a tool like this, with the features that it's got, and some of the features that are coming up, with the ability to sort of record screens and things like that, I think it's a really, really powerful tool. So I hope you've enjoyed the session. If you want to sort of get in touch, please do follow at Unio By Harness. And Nihal is putting their address and what have you down there. I've got a question from Michael here. How does this differ to Google Classroom and G Suite? So, Michael, this is completely different, okay? Classroom is a means where you can sort of get content to students that they can access and what have you, and you can do marking on and so forth and so on. I say Google Classroom is a learning management system, a bit more like a VLE, alongside your likes of Firefly and so forth and so on. Okay. Unio is a tool that you would use in your classroom. So many teachers will have slides and things that they might use either through their interactive whiteboard or through PowerPoint and so forth and so on. Okay, but this tool allows you to sort of run your presentation, but rather than just being on the screen, the students can engage with it as well. And not only can the students engage with the screens, the slides on their screen, they can annotate them live, they can have their own record of what's happening, and you can use it to inform your assessment for learning and next steps and what have you. And yeah, it's not the same thing at all. That's not to say that Google Classroom isn't any good at all. Absolutely not. It's a really cracking tool, as is the rest of the Google Suite. But there are features that we've got going on here which differ quite significantly to what you can do through Google Classroom. As a classroom, I should sort of hand out various resources and bits and bobs and so forth and so on. You know, if I was in a classroom now, I probably would be using Google Classroom, but what I would be doing is I'd be setting up a session in Unio at the beginning of the lesson, and I'd be giving the students the access code in Classroom so that they can come and join in the class and what have you, and I'm running within Unio. I hope that explains that. If it doesn't, please just let me know in the chat on the side. And just reiterate, if you wanted to get in touch, my name's Mark Anderson. I'm at ICT Evangelist. And you can follow Unio at Unio By Harness. Their phone number, which Nihal's put up, is 020 3488 0758. I've got another question from Dr. Beeching. Are the quizzes possible to be modified to have something more than yes or no answer? Absolutely. I was doing some on the fly really quickly. Just to sort of give you an example. I think a feature which is coming soon as well is the ability to sort of put images in to refer back to, so forth and so on within the questions and the quizzing and what have you. And if the features aren't there as well, like I said, if you sort of request those features, I know the team are very keen to make those things available and to develop those into the products as well, which I know that not every EdTech company are willing or able to do. Thank you, Michael, for your comment. That's really good. Brilliant stuff. Well, look, guys, I've got to say so goodbye at some point in time. So I'm going to do that any moment. Thank you to everyone who's come along to join us for today. The conversation can carry on. It's easy. All we need to do is just say drop Unio a line, either by email through the website at uniobyharness.com. Or they say that have a conversation on Twitter. They say they're a very transparent company. They're really keen to take on board your comments and your advice and ideas for how they can make it even better. And the big win really, and two really. One is I can see it being really helpful for supporting teaching and learning in the classroom. And so if you've got some kit already, be it Chromebooks or whatever, okay, this is a tool that you can access that isn't going to cost you anything at all, which in these hard times is always a welcome thing to have. So listen, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for your lovely comments on the side. Thank you, Mia. Thank you, Nihal. Thank you, Paul, Jane, Mr. Dalston from Oratory, so forth and so on. That's it. Don't forget, by the way, guys, if you wanted to watch us back, you should get an email in the next sort of half an hour to an hour or so with a video of this session, so you can replay it, maybe share it with some colleagues, that sort of thing. So I hope you found it really useful. Your comments have been really well appreciated. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you very much. Bye-bye.